And Melissa's coming. She's walking across the room.
Okay, so we're doing health practices for infants and toddlers today with me and Stacy. This is kind of just going over some of the same information, but we kind of put a little spin on it a little bit. So let's get started. Our goal of this training is to provide participants information on healthy practices for infants and toddlers to include diaper changing. I forgot toileting on there, potty training, daily health checks, good oral and hand hygiene, and self-help skills. Our objectives are to understand the diapering and toileting procedures along with potty training. Again, I forgot to put that in there. Learn the importance of daily health checks with young children. Learn the importance of teaching good oral hygiene practices with young children. And learn the importance of teaching good hand hygiene practices and self-help skills with young children. We gathered our information from Caring for Our Children, the 4th edition. So if you guys are interested in that, it's out there for you to get. Also, please keep in mind that these are recommended or suggested procedures and standards. Always refer to your Headstart standards and the DHR minimum standards for complete guidance. And if you have any questions, make sure you see your supervisor or program director. All right, so we're just going to get into diapering. So, it's not supposed to show up. All right, so why is maintaining sanitary conditions important when diapering? Maintaining sanitary conditions during diapering routines is especially important to minimize the spread of germs in the infant and toddler classroom. So the reason why there's such a specific guidelines for you to follow is to help minimize the spread of germs, because changing diapers is a dirty business, right? So having so many children sharing a space, equipment, and materials for a large part of the day makes it easy to spread the germs among children and adults. In terms of diapering and toileting, the diseases spread most often or frequently are those that are passed from contaminated hands to mouth. And that's very common when you're dealing with infants, pre-toddlers, and toddlers, right? Because they're touching everything, they're learning about their bodies, they're sticking hands in places, they're scratching when something is uncomfortable, when diapers. So, you know, they're little germ spreaders everywhere, especially intestinal diseases that cause our friend diarrhea. For children between 6 to 24 months, preventing gastrointestinal illnesses is of heightened concern because all prenatal immunity of their mother is gone and their own immune system is still immature. So children of this age have more trouble fighting off diseases than older children that could be dealt with easily or readily. So infants and toddlers with diarrhea are more likely to become dehydrated quickly and require medical attention or hospitalization than are older children with the same disease. And if you have a child that's sick and has diarrhea in your classroom, we go into panic mode because we got to make sure, you know, you smell something, you're like, oh my God, what's that smell? Who did what? Where is it at? We've got to check, because if the child is, something didn't quite keep in there and it kind of gets around, then, you know, we got to make sure that we're keeping the area sanitized and clean. So of course, everyone gets diseases throughout their life. Therefore, the pandemic of 2020, thereby building up valuable immunities to certain diseases. However, it is better if children get fewer diseases during the infant and toddler years when they are less able to easily fight. That's why you see a lot of things that are coming in your classroom that are just, you know that they're about to come during seasons. It's just inevitable. But the best thing that you can do is make sure that you're practicing these certain standards and guidelines to help minimize the spread of sickness through your classroom. So are diapers 100% safe and effective from spreading germs?
No.
No, they're not. They're not the cure-all. A vast amount of contamination is known to occur in classrooms where children are in diapers. Interesting. First, the diapers, even modern disposable diapers, do not completely prevent leakage. Germs are spread around the areas used by children, although that may not be obvious to staff. So remember, just because the baby's wearing a diaper, be vigilant. Make sure that you're always being observant of a child who's wearing diapers. Make sure there's not any wet spots on their pants. There's not any wet spots on the floor. You know, this is being just like your supervision. You know, you have to be vigilant in your classroom and the children within your classroom, because if the diaper is leaking, you've got to make sure that you're aware of where the child was so that you can go and sanitize, because things leak out of diapers. They're not 100% safe. They're not going to be your cure-all. Make sure that you're not going to get germs all over your classroom. Second, the diapering procedures, even when done according to the best known practices, only minimize but do not eliminate the spread of germs. Again, we can't be 100% sure, right? We can't guarantee 100% in our classroom that we are going to, there is not a germ in this classroom. All we can do is minimize the amount of exposure to germs in your classroom, right? The less opportunities for contamination, the better, right? We don't want 20 million opportunities, we want one, right? We want to minimize that opportunity of getting contamination in the classroom. But you've got to practice and be vigilant about your children in your classroom. So how can we reduce the spread? So early childhood programs, especially those enrolling in children in diapers, are considered places in which germs are carried and transferred to others and spread out into the community. However, studies have shown that infections can be reduced, again, reduction, we got to minimize, by half when your proper sanitary procedures are used. Such procedures help prevent the spread of disease within your program and limit the spread outside the program. So if you can do proper sanitary procedures half the time, that's great, right? Let's do it all the time. Let's practice it all the time. Let it become ingrained in your brain. Let it become ingrained, because if you practice it, it becomes habit, right? Habits are done without you really thinking about it. They become part of who you are. They become part of your routine during the day, and that's what we want to do. So it's important that sanitary procedures be carried out consistently and correctly to protect the health of the staff, which is you guys, the children, their families, and then of course the greater community. Hopefully diarrhea won't contaminate your community. Hopefully not. I don't think that you guys are going to affect your community in that part. But if you're sick and all of you are sick, then you can't come to daycare and you can't provide that well-needed care and learning for your children in your care. So is there more to changing diapers than changing diapers? Yes, don't you agree?
Sorry, are we unmuted?
Why do you think there's more to just changing diapers than just changing diapers?
I think so.
Did you
Yeah.
unmute me?
Yes.
Okay, it was easier.
It's kind of tricky, right? Y'all like, what could be more than changing diapers
No,
than changing
I
diapers?
know. Wait, are you
Yes, you are unmuted.
Quit yelling at me. But you can, this is a great time for like I love you rituals and to connect with the child and one-on-one time.
Absolutely. It's learning opportunities. Wow.
ICPs are good for that time too, yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Healthcare.
Changing diapers is a learning opportunity. How can it be a learning opportunity? Sometimes changing a diaper can mean a lot more than to your baby than you think, or to your infant or to your toddler. Just like you singing songs, these are opportunities. It's about quality time. It's a time in the day that you have that one-on-one time with that infant and toddler. If you've got so many toddlers in the classroom and you're with everybody,
Yes.
diaper changing time is that one-on-one where you're making face-to-face communication, right? You're having that one-on-one language, verbal communication. So when you're up there, when you're changing or you're potty training with that toddler and that infant, make that opportunity count. Make it important. So what are some activities that you can do during diaper changes? You mentioned, Melissa, I think you mentioned singing.
She said, I love you rituals. We could do, we could sing to them, but I know like with conscious discipline, they want us to do a lot of these I love you rituals. And that's the perfect time because you are making that eye contact and that direct one-on-one time with them.
Right. What else?
It's also a good time to ask them open-ended questions. Just, how are you doing today? Hey, I'm going to change your diaper now. Let's climb up these stairs. Can you lay down for me?
Absolutely, because not only is there, you're having that eye to eye, but you're also having that language development, right?
Yeah.
And that's huge. So giggle with your baby, play a tickle game, count the tickles and laugh some more. That's an option. That's an idea. Sing to your baby, right?
Yep.
That's always fun. That's always fun. Have something for your baby to look at. I'm not sure how your changing tables are located, but it's always good to have something. Either you can have it in the ceiling, or if you're next to a wall, because anxious babies or anxious toddlers can have a little bit of anxiety when they get to that changing table, because they could experience maybe had a bad rash and it creates anxiety getting up there. But having them something to look at can be fun. But you can also talk about the picture, right? And so we're doing language development. Gentle touch. So always keeping a hand on the baby as you're changing will help to keep them safe and feel comforted. Remember to never leave your child unattended on a changing table, but having that touch is still communicating, building those relationships, making them feel safe and comforted. Again, releasing or minimizing some of the anxiety that they might have. Can there be anything learned during diaper change?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, of course. You can learn during any process of the day. And by the way, there was like a simultaneous yeah in the room.
Was there? Okay. Because if it gives me, if I look odd, I'm going back for my PowerPoint to you guys. So it's taking me a minute to see your faces. Okay. Absolutely. Self-awareness. An infant does a lot of learning during diaper changes. It's one of the few times that they can actually see their own body without clothes. When they can feel their complete movements without a diaper between their legs, diaper oftentimes is a great chance for her to stretch her limbs and learn how they move. So that's a great opportunity for self-awareness for infants and toddlers. You can learn about
Especially boys.
Ma'am?
I said especially boys.
Especially boys.
My son right now, I'm like,
like,
dude.
Yeah, you're right. And it's kind of almost like, I guess it compared to, this might be just a little bit too much, but when you get home and you take off your favorites, whatchamacallit, you're just like, oh yeah, and you stretch, or you take off those tight shoes and you're like, oh, your toes are just going like this. Well, I'd imagine that's probably what an infant or toddler feels like when they take off that diaper, and they're just like, oh yeah, stretching those legs and kind of just seeing how their body moves and works and things like that. So that's a good time for them to learn about themselves. Learning about your baby, tuning into cues and signals, right? Especially for children who aren't communicating. So you're learning about the way that they're communicating to you, looking at their body language, facial expressions, right? Sounds. That's a good opportunity for you to be tuned into that. Developing trust. Again, when we were talking about children having a little bit of anxiety during diaper changes, and I know you guys experienced that before. Some kids just have a very unnatural relationship with diaper changes. It almost becomes a fight and a battle to get a kid to change a diaper. And sometimes you may not know why. That's a great opportunity for you also to communicate with parents and figure out why this is happening, because we want to make this experience as good for the child is for you, right? We don't want them to be upset. We want this to be a positive experience for them. So regular diaper changes creates rhythm in an infant's world and affords the sense that the world is safe and dependable. And being aware of emotions. So when you have to change diapers all day, it can be a routine for you as well. But take time to enjoy this time and build your relationship. An infant can have a stressful time, just like I mentioned, about past experiences, but you can change how an infant feels by taking a deep breath and focus on their needs. We get so tuned into our routine and making sure we got to get these 5, 6 babies changed, boom, 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 and back on the floor and doing our routine. Sometimes we have to take a minute and we really have to be considerate of them when they're changing on the table, and again, making it a learning opportunity. Don't you guys agree? We can't just rush through that, right? We have to build those relationships. We have to build that trust with our infants and toddlers. All right, this is a cute little kind of a little motto to go by. It's time to pick her up. It's time to hug her as we go to the changing table. It's time to smile at her. It's time to give her eye contact. It's time to talk to her. It's time to listen to her. It's time to help her learn about her body. It's time to let her observe her environment. It's time to sing with her, and it's time to be silly. I thought that was really cute to kind of remember as you're kind of doing your routine with diaper changes, because it can become just a routine. But we don't want it to be a routine. We want it to be more than just a routine. We want it to be a learning opportunity, but we want you to have a great relationship with your infants and toddlers. I just thought that was really cute to have. All right, so now we're going to get into the dirty business. Time for change, talking about diaper changing. All right, so looking at this picture, I want y'all to create a caption, because I know this is a face y'all have seen many, many times when you're changing a diaper in a toddler and you ask, you got to go potty or did you poop in your diaper? So can anybody come up with a funny little meme for this cute little girl?
I didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I like that.
My son's new thing is, no, I good.
Good. Okay. Anybody else?
Whoops.
Looks like Melissa and Emily might have one. What do you guys have?
What's going on?
What's going on? What's going on?
What about, let's just be real. It's a kid. I poop.
This is true. It's just like when you ask a kid, did you poop in your diaper? I don't know. Just kind of avoiding the whole situation. I don't know. We see that too often, don't we? All right, so checking diapers. So look at these two pictures. One's on a diaper changing table and one teacher is checking her diaper. So diapers should be checked for wetness and feces at least hourly, right? That's what we should be doing, checking them hourly. Visually inspect at least every 2 hours and whenever the child indicates discomfort or exhibits behavior that suggests a soiled or wet diaper. And those are that's when you're building a relationship with your infants and toddlers, you're also learning about cues and signals, right? So you can tell when your baby's fussy. You know, there's things that you're going to go through. You're going to check to see if they're wet, they're poopy, or whatever. Even if you just changed their diaper 5 minutes ago, that's going to be something that you're going to be like, maybe he pooped or maybe she pooped or whatever. So being in tune with the infants and toddlers in your classroom, learning cues and signals, body language, sounds, facial expressions, things like that, you're going to know your baby. Diapers should be changed when they are found to be wet and soiled. That's common sense, right? We should be doing that. All right, so why should they be checked every hour? Why is it so important to be checked every hour?
To help prevent rashes and leaks and whatnot.
Absolutely, because even though if some of us are moms, sometimes, you know, what you practice at home isn't what you practice at daycare, right? Or babies in our care. I know some people that can go several hours without checking their baby's diapers. We can't do that when we're in daycare, right? We got to check them every hour because they might get a diaper rash. Right. Diaper dermatitis, also known as diaper rash, occurs frequently in diapered children. Most common diaper dermatitis represents an irritant contact dermatitis. This happens when there's prolonged contact of skin with urine, poop, or both. All right, look at this picture. Cute little picture. I know you guys know this, but we're going to do it. So what is the less irritated bottom? Is it number 1, 2, 3, or 4? 1, Miss Janet says. Awesome.
Yeah,
all right, what's the most irritated bottom? 4. What's the next irritated? 3. And what's the second?
2.
Awesome. You're right. 2. So you guys are pretty good at that. I'm sure you see that on a more calm. And some kids are more sensitive than others. Not all kids are, you're going to have some kids that are consistently getting diaper rashes. Probably kids are more sensitive to urine than other kids are. Sometimes you may have to change them twice in an hour. You may have to put more diaper cream on them than other kids. Some of them are just more sensitive to that than other kids are. And some kids, once they start with the diaper rash, it goes full blown and it gets to where it opens sores and things like that. And those are the children sometimes that can have some negative experiences when you're doing diaper changes. Again, that's where you come in and you create a wonderful experience, right? Catering to their emotions and catering to their needs and making sure that they're having a good experience. All right, so do you have to wash your hands if you do this procedure? If you check her diaper, if you check a diaper like this, do you have to wash your hands?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. You do have to wash your hands. Even though you are not physically taking off a diaper and you're not necessarily in there digging around, because sometimes you have to pull a little bit further and pull it down, but you do have to wash your hands anytime that you place your hands on a diaper, right? We want to minimize those opportunities of contamination. So if she was checking this diaper and she had gloves on, does she have to wash her hands? Yeah. Gloves is not an exception to the rule, is it? We must wash our hands. All right, so let's get into our diaper changing procedure. So the following diaper changing procedure should be posted in the changing area, should be followed for all diaper changes, which I'm sure you guys have that in your classroom, right? Yep. All employees who diaper change undergo training and periodic assessment of diaper practices. Again, that should be something that you should practice consistently and kind of do it as a refresher. Sometimes we get so used to doing something that we get too comfortable that we may actually not be doing it right. So always making sure that you're, if you're a lead teacher or a teacher that's, which I don't know if y'all have lead teachers anymore, but working together and making sure that you guys are supporting one another and making sure that you're keeping on top of that. So if you're noticing somebody might be laxing a little bit on that, again, kind of bring it to their attention. Hey, maybe we need to review how to do a diaper change once again. And it's okay, because like I said, sometimes you get real comfortable and you forget. You get laxed and you just don't do something like you should. If one person does it, chances are somebody else is doing it as well. So it's always good to do that kind of a refresher course more than once a year. I would do it several times a year, just to kind of stay on top of it. And with hand washing too, sometimes we get real laxed on that as well. So using that as being a refresher on that would be a good thing. Caregivers and teachers should never leave a child unattended on a table or countertop, even for an instant. Using a safety strap or harness should not be used on the diaper changing table. So again, making sure that you're right there. If for some reason you have to step away, that's where you come in with your peer and ask for help for something, but never leave your child unattended. Always try to keep that hand on top of that child. Again, making sure that you're a gentle touch doing that, making them feel safe and comfortable in there, but always making sure that you're paying attention to your child on the changing table. If an emergency arises, again, caregivers, teachers should bring any child onto elevated surface to the floor with the child. And we know that. We've got to remove them down. If something's happening, right, we take them off the changing table. All cleaning and disinfecting solutions should be stored to be accessible to the caregiver, teacher, but out of reach of child. So again, refer to, you don't have to refer, that's my fault. I should have taken that, but refer to your regulations on where you're supposed to store that stuff. We don't want it where the children can get to it. Especially our babies, because you know how they reach for everything on the changing table. They're constantly reaching for stuff. They want to reach for those wipes and put them in their mouth, so they're always grabbing everything. All right, so step one of our changing procedure is getting organized. I can't stress how important it is to be organized and be prepared and having all your things in front of you. It makes things go easier, smoother and creates less anxiety if you're having to open cabinets on the bottom, reach for stuff over here, reach for here, because guess what? If you're doing that, your attention is not on what?
The child.
It's not right. It's not on the child. And so are you creating a learning opportunity? No. Are you creating a wonderful experience? No, because you're too focused getting your materials and you're not paying attention to what's going on that changing table, right? And you're not creating a wonderful experience for this child. So making sure that you have a setup in your classroom, in your diaper changing area that meets the needs of what you're trying to do, making sure all your materials are around. If that's not happening, again, make sure you talk to your supervisor and get that taken care of. We want to make sure that we're prepared to do this so it can go not quick, but it can go efficiently. Step 2, carry the child to the changing table, keeping soiled clothing away from you and any surfaces. And sometimes that happens. So when you're transitioning this child to the changing table, if you have leaky Susie over there, make sure that you're keeping that away from you so that you can get to the changing table. And always keeping a hand on the child. And I know this happens too. Sometimes you have those kiddos that like to kick and get everywhere and it's messy and it's just, if there's poop everywhere and this child is just doing, I know y'all have had that experience. Take the shoes and socks off because we don't want those contaminated at all. We don't want them to get into the things that you're trying to clean. So again, we want to minimize those opportunities of contamination. Step 3, we want you to clean the child's diaper area, right? So placing the child on the diaper change surface and unfasten the diaper, but leave the diaper under the child. We know how putting the child on the diaper changing table, keeping that on there. Don't take it completely off yet. So lift the child's legs as needed to use disposable wipes to clean their areas from the front to back using a fresh wipe, right? Question. Do you use the same wipe again? No, right? Front to back. Grab another wipe. Front to back, right? We don't reuse the same one. And I know parents probably ask you, why are we going through so many wipes? I just bought you a box last week. Your kid tends to poop a lot, so we can use one wipe for it. If it takes 5 wipes, we got to use 5 wipes for one diaper change. Plus, we're going to go through quite a bit of wipes, right? So I used to have that complaint all the time where parents would get so angry. What are you using? Are you using them on somebody else's child? No, we're using them on your baby, but we have to use one wipe at a time. We can't fold it and reuse it. We have to use a new wipe every time. Sometimes that's hard for parents to understand. But make sure that you're putting the soiled wipes or paper towels into the soiled diaper and then put it into a hands-free covered can, right? All right, so step 4, removing the diaper and clothing without contaminating any surface not already in contact with stool or urine. So folding the soiled surface of the diaper inward and then putting the diapers in a covered plastic lined hands-free covered can. So just when you're doing that, putting it into the trash can. So step 5, put on a clean diaper and dress the child. Sliding a new diaper. I just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Get y'all on the screen. But while you're changing the diaper, make sure that you're observing too, making observations, right? Make sure that you're doing inspections and making sure that you're paying attention to the area. Make sure there's no diaper rash. But what else are you looking for too when you're doing that? I see your lips are moving, but I can't hear you.
You got to make sure you got everything. You don't want to miss spots and whatnot.
But there's another thing you're looking forward to, especially in the morning when your first diaper change.
You're overall looking for the child's well-being.
Yeah.
Right, because we're mandated reporters, right?
Did I unmute me?
Right, I know, right?
Go
So-
for it, Melissa.
I don't know how to work this thing, but you are definitely. Stop! You're distracting me. You're definitely checking for. Gosh, now I lost my train of thought. Checking for anything for health check wise, and you're making sure that the diaper's not full, because you need to write that down too and keep track of all of that. It's like extremely full diapers every single day.
Right. No, girl. I know. Absolutely. You're right. You're absolutely right. So step 6, we want to wash the child's hands and return the child to a supervised area. So if you have an infant that's, let me ask you this. When should you wash an infant's hands when with water and soap?
But when they come into the room, before and after eating.
Well, not for diaper changes. How old
Oh.
should they start?
When they can hold their head up.
Right, because we don't want floppy. That's not healthy. That's a safety concern, right? So we want them to be able to have some strength in their head to be able to hold it. So when you're putting them in the Superman position and you're washing their hands, they're able to prop that head up right and balance themselves. Because if you're holding the baby, you're feeling that stiffness, right? You're feeling them holding up their head and washing their hands. So that's really, really important to be able to be, again, knowing your baby and
We can hear you,
making
Melissa.
sure that you're paying attention to their skill level. That it's age appropriate to wash their hands. Using soap and warm water. That's all we need. We don't need any fancy soap, just good soap and water. Step 7, after we do that, after we wash the baby's hands, we put them down. We put them down and we go back and we clean and follow the sanitizing protocol that we do for our diaper changing area, right? Because we've got to get ready for the next baby. And then our last step is to document it. So, you got to wash your hands as well, and then you got to document your diaper changing, right? You got to put it on their little chart, wherever your little chart's at. Go back and make sure that they've you changed their diaper for the day, right? We got to keep up with that. All right. Excuse me, y'all. Okay, so I want you guys to put the steps in order. So there's actually more steps, but these are just a few. So looking at these steps, I want you to tell me what steps which ones should go in order. Let's put these in order.
The first one's A.
Okay, the first one's A. Absolutely, preparation is key, right? What else? What's next?
B.
B. Okay.
It's so small I can barely read it. It was
E.
D next. E. C and then D.
Okay.
I think I can't really see these pictures or read the words. I'm trying. Am I still muted? Or I don't know. I can't tell on your phone.
Alpha, Bravo, Echo, Charlie, Delta. Or Delta, Charlie. No. Yeah, Charlie, Delta. I said it right the first time.
So A, B, C, D.
A, B, E, C, D.
Say that again. What'd you say, Caitlin?
A,
Uh-huh.
B.
If you guys want to take if you go over, move your mouse or whatever to your screen where you have everybody's pictures and slide it over, your PowerPoint will grow.
I don't know if mine will do that on the phone. Oh,
you're on the
well, I can zoom. Yeah, I'm on my phone.
Any comment?
Prepare supplies. Remove soiled diaper.
Mhm.
Clean child with wipe.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, where'd it go?
C. Yeah, place
diaper in
and
trash,
clean
and then wipe your hands.
And then wash.
So
And
A,
then you
B,
clean off the thing. Why is that not an
Yeah.
option?
well, these are
That's
just,
that's
they're-
not on there yet.
yeah. So there's more pictures, but I just grabbed some random pictures. So
Oh,
so with the
There's a lot
pictures you
to
would
it
have
on
on
it,
here,
though.
how would they be put into order?
Oh,
what would I look like? Oh,
Was that right?
What did you say? A, B, C, D, and E?
No.
A,
Prepare supplies. So A.
Uh-huh.
Remove diaper. B.
Okay.
Clean child with wipe. E.
Okay.
Place diaper in trash can. C.
Okay.
And then wipe your hands. D.
Think so. I've got the E and C backwards. Yeah. Or do I have them wrong? E, C.
Yeah, you got the E and C backwards.
Mm-hmm. So prepare supplies. A, remove your soiled diaper. Right, we remove the diaper. We haven't wiped yet. And then you're going to clean the child with a wipe. We're fixing to wipe. She's fixing to clean her. And then we're going to place the diaper in a trash can. And then the last step would be wipe your own hands, because in between there's some other thingies, but this is kind of general procedure. Do y'all agree? I can't see y'all. Okay.
Yes, we all agree.
Okay. So what do we do right before you wipe your own hands? What's the step before you do wipe before your own hands?
can you? Okay. I would clean off the changing table myself, honestly, before I wiped my hands.
What about before you?
Before you wipe your own hands, what do you do before that?
Should you put the child down? Because you're taking your hand off the child.
Well, if you remember, when you're changing, after you've removed the diaper and you clean the child with a wipe, you wipe her hands with a wipey, and then you wipe your hands with a wipey, and then you put a fresh diaper on and clothe her, and then you put her down. And then you go back and wash your hands after you sanitize. You guys understand? Yeah. I just took some parts of it and was trying to let you fill in the blanks of the steps. Kind of confused y'all a little bit, didn't it? Y'all were missing some of the pieces of the puzzles visually, huh?
Our train might have derailed for a second, but it's back.
Just trying
This
to
is
get you to
only the
use your
captain's
brain a
seat.
little bit.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right. So here is a poster. So that kind of talks about the changing steps. So number one is getting organized, right? Washing your hands, gather what you need, preparing. And that includes making sure you have the diaper, clean clothes if necessary, a plastic bag, disposable wipes, your gloves that you need to have, any diaper creams, right? That's getting prepared. So number two is when you're carrying the child to there. You know, and we talked about removing shoes and socks in case there's, you know, the child has diarrhea or things have gotten a little bit out of control in the diaper. Take those things off just to be safe. We don't want them to get contaminated, especially if the child doesn't have extra shoes or socks. The third step is cleaning the child, removing poop and pee, you know, from front to back using a fresh wipe. Taking the wipe and if you're using a towel, paper towel, or whatever, and making sure that you're throwing those in a hands-free container. Number four is removing the diaper and throw it in the trash can. 5 is putting on a clean diaper, making sure that you're sliding that underneath the child, using a tissue to apply diaper cream on the child and finish clothing the child, and then again washing your children's hands. But in this process here, you know, you've got to make sure that if you go back to number 4, it says remove your gloves, clean your hands with a disposal wiper, clean the child's hands with a fresh whatchamacallit, I think it should be the other way around. And then putting a clean diaper on the child. And then the last step is washing their hands. You going back and sanitizing step 8. And step 7. And then step 8 is washing your hands, right? We got to make sure that we get, and then that's starting the cycle. So if you got another infant or toddler, you wash your hands, you get your supplies ready, and we do it again, right? 3 more times, 4 more times, 5 more times, right? All right. So let's take a look at what this should look like. This is a video. This is a video of a center that's following the ITERS protocol on diaper changing. So let's take a look at this.
Today I'd like to demonstrate caring for our children and ITERS and Eckert diaper changing procedure. The first thing you need to do when changing a diaper is prepare your station. You need a hands-free diaper pail to dispose of the diaper. Hands-free, meaning you use a foot pedal. If you have a station where you can open the door and leave it open, put it under the sink like that. If not, pull the trash can out and shut the door. Since I've touched the trash can, I need to wash my hands before I begin. So I turn on the water, I wet my hands, I get soap, and I begin to rub. I need to do it for 20 seconds. So you can either count in your head or you can count out loud to model for the children. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then you rinse. Grab your paper towel. Drying your hands thoroughly before using the paper towel to turn off the water. Now I'm going to prepare my station. I need to get a diaper, and if you have a ledge that you can put your item on, instead of putting them directly on the diaper changing table, that is the best. So I'm going to put my clean diaper, and I'm going to grab my wipes. I need 1 clean wipe for my hands, 1 clean wipe for the child's hands, and a couple of wipes to clean the child's bottom. Remember, never put your white box on the diaper changing table. This is a dirty surface. Next, I'm going to grab my gloves. Again, do not bring the glove box to the diaper changing surface. I'm going to put on my gloves and get my child. Now I'm ready to begin my diaper changing. So I lay the child on the surface. The minute I start to open the diaper up, I am now dirty. So I don't want to do anything else but care for this child and their diaper. I'm going to wipe top to bottom and leave the diaper under the child. Grab my first wipe top to bottom and leave it on the diaper. Wipe top to bottom and leave it on the diaper. She's clean. I'm going to grab my diaper and put it directly into the trash can, making sure to keep track of my child. Then I'm going to take off my gloves, pinching from the middle, and then up and in, and put it in the hands-free diaper changing, keeping an eye on my child. Next, I'm going to wipe my hands with a clean wipe, throwing it into the trash can. The child's hands with a clean wipe, throwing it into the trash can. Now that my hands are clean, the child's hands are clean, I will grab my clean diaper. Now, using the wipes does not replace hand washing. So I will be washing her hands immediately after getting her dressed in our diaper changing sink. I'm going to wet her hands first. Again, apply soap to one hand and the other, and then begin washing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20. Then I'm going to rinse her hands. grab my paper towel and dry her hands off thoroughly. And use my paper towel to turn off the water. Then I'm going to put my child back to the play area. And I need to come immediately back to my table because my hands are still dirty and I need to clean. I start to clean the surface with soap and water first. I'll apply that to the surface and wipe it down. Throw that into the trash can. Then the bleach and water, apply that to the surface. And we're going to let that set for at least 2 minutes. My hands are still dirty from cleaning and changing a diaper, so I will wash them now. Wet first, soap. Again, 20 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Rinse. And use the paper towel to turn off the faucet. Now, while the bleach is still on my table, I can grab the diaper changing log because my hands are clean. I can report what I just changed, and I'm ready to begin again.
I have a question. On that video, can you name something that you thought was wrong?
She didn't keep her hand on the baby at all times, especially when throwing stuff away.
What else? I caught that too. What else?
I have a question, and it's not necessarily something that I saw wrong. So we're supposed to, and I don't know why this is has never registered to me. We're supposed to spray the bleach water and let it sit for 2 minutes before we use it before we wipe it down. Because what if little Johnny over there has my class decides to poop all at the same time. So that's what I was wondering. Is it okay to immediately wipe it? Melissa.
No, okay. But the other video
just
we
thinking
watched at 5 minutes, so I was going to just say that. Sorry.
So I was just
Go ahead.
I'm just confused on the whole 2 minutes and.
Idealistically, in a situation, it's always good because remember, sanitizing anything has to be on a surface for a long period of time, right, to sanitize. And so you've got to be able to let it sit. I think she said 2 minutes. So idealistically, that's what we should be doing, but sometimes we can't do that. So we have to be able to do it, right, to be able to change. But I think, you have to follow your standards and your protocol. So whatever standards that are in place for your program, you have to follow. This video was a ITERS, which I don't know if you guys, it's through a STAR program. This is just some higher standards that they have for the program. But I really liked the video, but you should always follow what your standards are, whatever your standards say. So whatever you've been practicing according to your standards, what you should practice. But it is recommended for sanitizing to do that. But you still have to follow your protocol for your whatever your program allows. What else did you notice in the video? I thought was kind of funny, but I think she did it for video purposes, but I was going to see if you guys caught that.
She counted way too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did. And there was something else I thought was funny.
I feel like she took the gloves off too early.
No.
No.
Because she had already cleaned.
Right.
Did you see the way she cleaned the baby's hands?
Yeah, she left that hand all the way on the seat.
A baby couldn't hold her.
Yeah.
She
Right.
had both hands and she was pressing the baby up to the thing and she was washing both hands. And I know she was doing it for video purposes only, but we don't clean babies' hands like that, do we?
Right. No.
A baby can't hold their head up or their body, so let's not hold our baby's hands like that. I just thought that was funny,
Right.
but I know she was doing it for video purposes, but I was wondering if anybody caught that. All right, so potty users. So we'll touch a little bit on potty before I hand it over to Miss Stacy. So there is not one right way or one right age to learn how to use the toilet. There are some things to help keep in mind as you help your children use the toilet. Everybody's different, right? Every child is different. Every stage of development is different for them. Some are quick, some are a little bit slow, but that's okay because potty training is unique to each individual child. So look for signs your toddlers are ready to transition to the potty. Stays dry at least for 2 hours at a time, and especially after naps. Recognize that their body is, that they're able to recognize that their body is urinating or having a bowel movement. If children are oblivious to that, they're not ready. They're not ready. Children have to be aware that they're wet and that they're having a bowel movement. What is one way that you can tell that a child can acknowledge that they're having a bowel movement?
They just stand still and they're looking at you with that guilty look on them.
Right. What else?
And if
what
they're old enough to talk, they'll say it.
Say I'm poopy.
Oh, yeah, and my son will come up and be like, I poop.
Right, absolutely. Or if you notice, you know, Melissa said giving you that look, but how many children, you know, maybe go under the table or go behind something to go poop and have a little bit of privacy, right? So that's a clear indication that they're aware of their body. Developing physical skills that are critical to potty training. To walk, they've got to be able to walk. We can't have a child that's crawling up there trying to potty train, right? Because mom says my kid is ready to potty. I just know she's ready to potty. Can't do that. That doesn't make sense. They're able to pull their pants up and down. That's a self-help skill, right, that they should be learning. And they can get on and off the potty. Those are some things that I think parents always forget when it's time to potty train. They're so eager to get the child off diapers. They're not paying attention to the readiness that toddlers need to exhibit before they can potty train. They can't reflect on their first child because they're two different people, right? The first child may have potty trained, I'm just going to throw it out here, at a year old, 10 months, whatever it may be. Their child may potty train at 18 months, 2 years. You know, everybody's different. Everybody's different. But parents are going to swear, but that's where you have to build that rapport with parents and really learn to communicate and really learn about your child and really work with the parent and try to get them to understand that there's more to potty training than just saving money on diapers. And they're able to follow simple directions. They've got to be able to follow these simple directions to be able to comprehend, because it's a 10-step process, right? It's just not go potty. They don't get to that yet, because when a kid you tell them to go potty, there's a lot of processes, a lot of things that they have to understand what to do, right? Go to the potty, pull my pants down, sit on the potty, poop, pee, wipe. That's a lot of steps to do. So they have to be able to follow simple directions, start with simple directions. You know, simple directions is put this in the trash can, right? Put this on the table. That's a simple direction. And they're showing interest in using the potty. Some kids will be excited, you know, they want to get into the potty. They want to wear big girl pull-ups, or they want to wear, the little boys wear pull-up. They're showing that interest in pottying. If they're not really interested, they may not be ready. They may not be mature enough to do that. So when not to potty train? There are some issues that can sometimes get in the way of successful potty training. Can anybody give me one?
Possibly go ahead, girl.
Like a development delay, or would you say Emma? Special abilities?
Absolutely. That's a huge factor. That plays in a lot. Anybody else?
What about like, girl? What about like, if the child shows interest in the class, but yet, you know, because most of the time we have to take all of them to the bathroom anyway. If the child's shown interest in class, but then they're not doing it at home, you know, we can't just force it. It's like, what do we do? You know, it made more sense in my head before I spoke.
No, you're absolutely right, because again, we have to really think about, I always say this all the time, is a 360 circle, right? Because one can't function without the other when a child is in daycare. Everything, you have to support what is done at home. Home has to support what's done at school. It cannot work individually by itself. It has to work together as a team. And so if a child's showing interest at school, but the parent's not ready to do that, that's where you come in, and you have to work with the parent, and you have to communicate with the parent. And again, you've got to build that rapport with your parent, because they have to trust in you to believe that you have the children's best interest in mind, right? That you know what you're doing. You're just not a babysitter, right?
Yes.
You're a teacher, you're a provider. So you have to build that connection and relationship so that they can depend on you. They can come to you and say, hey, Melissa, I'm so ready. What do I need to do to get ready for potty training? That's what you want to hear from a parent, right? That's what you want to hear is like, I'm ready. What do we need to do? Give me a plan. How are you doing this at school? What's the schedule that you're following at school? Because I want to do that at home. What are you doing? What song are you singing? What are you telling my child that's motivating them? I got to do that at home. That's the kind of relationship that you want to see with your parent. That's the kind of communication, right? Because if you're telling your parent, hey, I think it's time for them to potty, oh, okay, yeah, we'll think about it. Or, well, we did it on vacation, but it doesn't work anymore. Well, yeah, you were on vacation for 2 weeks and you got it done, but if you want me to do all the work, I can't do it by myself. It's got to be teamwork, right? So that's a huge thing. Significant changes or several changes at once. So any slight change that a child can experience, whether it's at home or something traumatic at school, can alter an opportunity or change an opportunity to potty train. Upcoming or recent family move. If they're in, and it may not necessarily be, it's not a school, it's moving maybe from home to another home. That's a huge change for a kid. You know, we adults can process things. We might get excited because we're getting out of this ugly house and we're getting into my dream house and we're just like, oh my God, this is fantastic. But that's a change in environment and a change of a whole new world for an infant or a toddler. So that can bring stress in itself, and that's probably not a good time to start potty training, right? Because that is too much transition, that is too much change to process. Beginning new or changing existing childcare arrangements. What does that necessarily mean? What does that mean, changing the childcare arrangement or environment? You guys are thinking.
Okay, say the question one more time because maybe I misunderstood.
Beginning new or changing existing childcare arrangements. What does that necessarily mean?
I mean, getting a new teacher, possibly, I mean, I know we change our classroom a lot, Emily. But, you know, just something that could just throw the child off of their routine.
Absolutely. And that has a huge impact on children. It not only changes, I mean, it changes their behavior, does it not? That's one of the biggest things that affects behaviors is the inconsistency in your classroom, and there's a lot of changes that are going on. So
and they vibe off of us, and if there's a miscommunication or tension between the teachers in the classroom, they're gonna pick up on it, and there's gonna be tension between us.
Absolutely. That affects their ability to have, you know, to be successful in their classroom and anything that they're doing. It's because they're feeding off that environment. And some children transition very well, and that's great, but some kids have a hard time, and we don't necessarily see it in behavior, but we might see it in skills that they're trying to learn, because they're so affected by the change that it's affecting their development in that skill. So those are things to consider when you are thinking about introducing potty training to your child or to your parent. So you know, because you guys are with them just as much as the parents, so you're seeing things, you're learning about them, and you probably know a little bit more about them at school than their parents. Their parents, you know, sees them for a few hours and then they go to bed. So you guys spend a lot more time with them than their parents sometimes do. Switching from crib to bed. So when you're making that transition from a crib to a bed is not a good time to do potty training. It's just not. That's a huge transition. Think about your own kids, if you do have kids, how they went, if they slept in your bed and transitioned to their toddler bed. How hard a transition like that is. That can take years sometimes to do. It's of course a lot better in your classroom because it's more, you have more consistency in your classroom than mama does at home. But that's a huge transition. So we don't want to put too many transitions on a child at one time. We want to do these things smoothly and with less anxiety for them on a transition. So think about those when you're working with your kids and you know these transitions are fixing to happen. We don't want to put too much on them because we don't want to regress on anything. We always want to move forward. New member arrives in the family. Oh yes, when brother or sister gets a new little sibling, that's a huge transition. That's an emotional transition. Sometimes we see regression in behavior. We also see regression in language development too, because sometimes they can stop talking. So that's probably one of the biggest that I've experienced children deal with, is having a new sibling. Sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's very, very negative. And again, if you know that's fixing to happen, try to schedule this and try to figure out a way where you can plan a transition for potty training, because potty training is kind of an emotional thing too. It's not an easy transition. It's emotional. A major illness, recent death, or some other family crisis. If you have a kid who's real sickly, or has a time where they're really sick and they're out for weeks, or they've battled something for weeks, that can be a regression in a skill as well, because they're at home and they've been babied and loved, and when they come back to school, well, you weren't doing this a month ago, you were doing great a month ago, but now we've regressed and we have to start all over again. So if something like that happens, you might want to postpone that as well. Communication, again, with parent is key. Everything that you do, communication with parents is key. If your parents don't want to communicate with you, make them communicate with you. Be in their face. You've got to let them see you, and you've got to let them hear what you have to say, because what you have to say is important, because it's about their baby, right? So we've got to be able to communicate with our kiddos. And I think y'all have pretty good communication and relationships with your parents so far. Y'all have good relationships with your parents?
Yeah, absolutely. Most of them have added me as a friend on Facebook. But I know with any of the kids in the class, I can go to them with any concerns, funny little things that their kid does, or, hey, did you know that this is happening? Is this something that happens at home? Yeah, she gets that from me. Sorry.
That's good. That's really. How are your teachers?
Yeah.
Okay.
We all have that kind of relationship with our parents and each other.
That's really good. Can get you all on the screen. Okay. All right. So start potty training. So it's important for you as a provider and teacher to create a supportive learning environment, right? We've got to create this environment that's welcoming, that kids feel safe and secure, because if they feel safe and secure, they're going to want to what?
Learn.
Absolutely. They're going to want to learn. Recognize the child is in control of their body. Again, this was like what we were talking about, the skill, right? We got to make sure that they're in control, and that means that they're where you go, that they're able to, tell you when they're peeing or when they're wet and when they're poopy, and you can tell when they're ready, when they got to pee, but they're holding their pee, right? They're in control. They're cognizant of they got to go pee, but they don't want to go pee. So they're going to hold that pee. They're going to hold the poop. So they're aware of it, and they're able to control that with their body. Teaching children words for body parts and poop and pee. They've got to be able to have a name for this. That's another skill that they should be learning. They should be able to tell you, because you want them to come up and tell you, I have to go potty, right? I have to go poop. I have to go pee. Communication. Offer the appropriate equipment for successful toileting, making sure you have the appropriate toilets, or if you're using potty chairs, making sure that you have those things available for children. It makes that transition and to learn that skill a lot easier. Expect and handle your potty accidents without anger. Be positive. An accident is not a bad thing, right? We've got to be able to demonstrate and be a role model of how you should behave, right? And how you should act and how you should communicate, and make it a positive experience. Avoid punishments as well as too much praise around toilet use. You got to find the balance. We don't want to be so excited that we're bouncing off the walls and we're running through the room and we're cheering and we're just emphasizing the success of potty training, right? Because that can be a negative too, right? They're not going to want to really do it. They're just going to pretend to do it. And so we're going to be doing that all day. So you've got to be able to find a balance between praise and being successful, right? We don't want to have to be giving a show every time they poop or pee. You'll be exhausted all day. You're not. Did somebody provide a show for somebody? Did somebody? Oh,
We had this one particular child who was having a reaction to diapers all of a sudden. Like she was forming cysts. So mom was like, oh, by the way, I know that she doesn't want to go to the potty, that she's flat out refusing, but guess what? She's in underwear now. So she didn't have a choice. And there was nothing that they could do because it was too much heat, even though we were changing every hour and going to the bathroom constantly. So we had to literally dramatize everything.
Really?
Ringing the potty bell multiple times. Woo! Chanting. Man, the whole classroom would get involved, down the hall, whatever it took to get this child to not pee on my carpet or poop on my carpet.
Oh, no.
So for her, it was just, she needed that almost over dramatization of it. But nobody else. Everybody's like, ring the potty bell 2 times. Okay, let's wash our hands. We're done. But that was just that one child. I'm gonna miss her. She ages out this year. She's my friend.
You gotta find balance.
Yeah.
Gotta find the balance. But I understand what you're saying. That was a unique situation. But for the most part, you can actually have the reverse effect on something like that, because kids learn really quick. This is something that just gives me the attention that I need and I want, and I'll go out there and do that 20 times if you want me to, if it gets you to show me that attention that I need. But we got to find a balance, because this is a skill. It's not like a tying your shoe necessarily. This is a skill that is part of our development that we've got to do. So we've got to find the balance on that. We don't want to put too much praise around that or use rewards necessarily, because again, that's not what it's about, right? We got to have the skill development. Move at the child's pace. Again, these are all looking for signs and signals, right? Communication to let you know, looking for the physical development signs that these children are ready to move. We don't want to rush them. Again, this little girl had to be rushed, right, to potty train because it was good for her health. It was required for her health. But we don't want to rush them, because we don't want to break them down, and we don't want to shut them off, because if a child is not ready to go potty and you're rushing them, you're going to be rushing them to 4 years old. Because children it can have a psychological effect on a child and really keep them from potty training. So what to avoid when potty training? They're trying, this is my favorite right here. Toddlers are about trying to gain some control over their world. They are using their growing physical, thinking, and language skills to gain some power over themselves, their bodies, and their surroundings. The natural and healthy desire for control can lead to power struggles between you and the toddler. Children learn to feel that happens when you have a typo. It messes up your whole sentence. Children learn to feel in charge by refusing to not do something they know you want them to do. Again, toddlers are fierce when it comes to this. Power struggles has always been a mystery to people on how to balance that with toddlers, right? Because you're trying to gain control of your toddlers because you want them to do something, but they know you want them to do it, and they're not going to do it. And so it's a psyche game with toddlers, is trying to find that balance. How can I let them feel independent, but yet get them to do what I need them to do, or learn a skill that I need them to learn? So some parents have a hard time with potty training. It is a very delicate balance. And so you have to be mindful about that when you're doing that. You have to know your children. You have to know their personality and their temperaments when you're doing this. Because what you do for little Sally, you can't do for little Billy, right? Everybody's unique. So you have to be mindful when you're doing this. You don't want to get into a power struggle with this kid and fight with them every day trying to potty train. You just can't do it. You will lose. You will lose in potty training a toddler. Approach toilet training as a matter of fact. Just like I said, when we talked about, celebration, and you were talking about your child and celebrating it, we want to make this a matter of fact. We want to make this is great that you're doing it, and we want to celebrate it, but we need to learn more about the skill and just as it is. Not overwhelming it with a lot of emotion, because this is a life skill. This is a skill that they have to do. This isn't, like I said, tying your shoes. We just buy you Velcro, and we'll work on that later. Shoes come with we can pull Velcro off. Tying shoes can come later if it's necessary. But, using the potty is a life skill that they need to have. So we've got to find that balance on how you do that. And if they have developmental needs, that's a whole nother section. Think of it as a skill you are helping the children learn. Again, life skill. Do not force a child to use the potty. It can lead to children to want to control their bodies and hold toddler control. They're going to hold that pee and they're going to hold that poop. My son did that, and he held it for a week. I had to take him to the pediatrician, and he said, oh, he'll be fine, because when he poops, he can't hold it no more. It's going to come out, and it's going to come out somewhere he won't like it. It's going to be in his pants. And once in his pants, he won't like that feeling anymore, and he'll go poop. And so, but toddlers are fierce. They will fight you on that. If they don't want to go potty, they'll kick and scream till you're just wore out. So this is good information for you, but it's also great information to pass to your parents so they can learn, because a lot of the times you might have new parents, and you guys are pros, right? You're going through you have babies after babies and toddlers. That might be their first child. So you guys have the information, you have the knowledge that you can pass forward to them, and letting them understand there's more to this, again, than just saving money on diapers. There's a whole emotional aspect of this, right? This is just not about saving money on diapers, because you're going to be their source of information. You're going to be their source of trust. You want them to come to you and ask for help. So again, this is a question I asked, but I wanted to throw this back in here. Can gloves serve as a substitute for washing hands?
No.
No. Who said that? Miss Caitlin? Elizabeth, is it a substitute for washing hands? I'm going to take these off. Wave your finger at me, girl. Awesome.
Oh, that worked.
What about you, Miss Emily? I see you back there getting comfy on that rocker. Melissa, is it a alternative to washing hands? Melissa, is it
I was
alternative?
explaining it to her. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. All right.
Okay.
No, it is not, you guys. Gloves do not exempt us from.
I said
It does not serve as a substitute for washing hands. A lot of people believe that it is. I know that you see that in the pandemic, or not pandemic, but you see that out here. They think if they wear gloves, boom, they can toss them and go about their business, but that's not true. Gloves are a way to help minimize spread, but it is not 100% safe. So,
Agreed.
Yeah, no,
I
I was thinking
agree too.
about hand sanitizer, but then you just said that. So.
All right, so this is Miss Stacy. This is where she comes in. I am done. Do y'all have any questions about potty training? Anything like that? It's just kind of an overview of, y'all know your steps, you know your procedure. I just wanted to give a little spin on it and touch a little bit about the emotional aspect of it. Y'all have any questions regarding it and potty training?
It's definitely a fun process with these kids, especially when they take 20 minutes to go poop, and the whole time they're like, can you sit and talk to me? Can you just poop and let's not have a conversation? But I gotta.
At least not a long conversation.
Yep.
Small conversation, but let's not have a huge conversation. Again, those are wonderful opportunities again too. You can learn a lot from children when they want to divulge, you know, what goes on in their home. So That's a great opportunity. I'm going to hand it over to Stacy.
Okay, hey guys, I realize it is after 12 o'clock, so I am fixing to have to fly through this part. So Sonia, you're going to be really clicking fast, girl. So, okay, can you pop the question up there? Y'all have to bear with us. She's my clicker. So, all right, so we're going to start talking about daily health checks. So what do you guys think? What is a daily health check?
It's when you
Making
check
sure
over
that
the kid's whole entire. Wait, was someone else talking? Sorry. It was to make sure that the child does not have any bruises, anything that's concerning, anything that you need to know about or report, and to make sure that they're overall healthy and can continue the day in childcare.
Right, absolutely, bingo, yes. The daily health check is a quick way for the child care provider to check a child's well-being or a change in the child's health status while at the center. The daily health check will be performed by a trained staff member upon the arrival of each child at the center. Why is it important for somebody to be trained in this?
But
Go ahead.
okay, sorry. Beat you to it. Got you $1. Sorry. Because it's required for our classrooms, and it is the reason we need to be trained in this is so that we know the signs to look for.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and you know the
I was
procedures.
going somewhere else, but I forgot.
Right, yes, and you know the procedures, absolutely, you're correct, okay? To conduct a daily health check. Every day, a trained staff member should conduct a health check of each child. This health check should be conducted as soon as possible after the child enters the facility and whenever a change in the child's behavior or appearance is noted while that child is in care. So you're constantly doing quick checks. It's not just, yes, you do it when they first come in the morning, but you should be doing it periodic through the day too, to notice a change in their behavior or their appearance, okay? Next. The health check should address reported or observed illness or injury affecting the child or family member since the last date of attendance. Reported or observed changes in behavior of the child or in the appearance, if they're sad, of the child from the previous day at home or the previous day's attendance at childcare. So do you notice any changes in the child from the day before? And this is a little delayed, so you should look for, and I know some of you probably think, oh, some of this stuff just kind of sounds gross, but these are things that you need to look for. You need to check for any skin rashes, impetigo, itching or scratching of the skin, itching or scratching of the scalp, or the presence of one or more live crawling lice. You should do a temperature check if the child appears ill. And of course, I know now that we're in the time of pandemic, you should be just doing those temperature checks anyway. A daily screening, other signs or symptoms of illness and injury, such as drainage from the eyes, vomiting, diarrhea, cuts, lacerations, pain, or feeling ill. So these are just the common things that you should be looking for every day during the daily health check. You should gain information necessary to complete the daily health check by direct observation of the child, by asking the parent or guardian, and where applicable, by conversation with the child. Daily health checks seek to identify potential concerns about a child's health, including recent illness or injury in the child and the family. These health checks may serve to reduce the transmission of infectious diseases in childcare settings by identifying children who should be excluded and enable the caregivers or teachers to plan for necessary care while the child is in care at the facility. Okay, and so this is going to help when you do the daily health check. This is going to help to spread contagious illness. And like I said, there again, in this pandemic time, this is really ramped up. I mean, we think about it probably even more than what we even thought about it before. So contagious illnesses or illnesses that can be passed from one person to another. Some examples include respiratory infections such as colds, coughs, flu, gastrointestinal illnesses that can cause diarrhea, stomach aches, vomiting, and other communicable diseases such as chickenpox, mumps, measles, and skin diseases. And I know a lot of these, like the chickenpox and things like that, they do have vaccinations for, but not every child gets vaccinated sometimes. And these are also listed within contagious illnesses, including this category, or just nuisance infestations. I'll get it out in a minute, y'all. I need something to drink. Such as lice and scabies. And so you ask, well, what is scabies? And that's a picture of it right there on the left. That's an itching condition caused by, I know this sounds nasty, but by burrowing mites. And so those mites follow along in the lines of, fleas. And so they get under the skin and they burrow and they cause those bumps right there. Although these are not diseases, they are treated similarly to avoid their spread. And so the second picture is a picture of the head lice, and those are the nits, like the eggs. And those are live eggs that can hatch out. And then the third picture over there is the picture of a rash, the itching that's caused by head lice that goes along their neckline right there where their hair meets their neck. So those are just some things to look for right there. Although it's sometimes difficult to decide whether a child should be excluded from the program, because that's not your number one goal. Because of the illness, staff can reduce the illness rate among children and amongst yourselves, because you're not only protecting the children, you're protecting the staff also, by removing sick children from contact with other children and checking with a healthcare provider for guidance as needed. And I'm sorry, guys, I know I'm going through this like super, super fast.
I promise you're fine. If we need to slow down, we'll tell you.
Okay. I feel like I'm just going blah, 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 blah.
We
The daily health check. I know y'all are. I know we're getting hungry too. The daily health check should be formed in a relaxed and comfortable manner. Why should it be in a relaxed and comfortable manner?
Because you want them to be in their natural state. Sorry, Melissa. I'm so sorry, Beach.
And you don't want to freak the kid out. Like, oh my gosh, do you have any marks on you? Oh my gosh, let me check you. That was a bit dramatic. So.
Yes.
Like, yeah. What is that?
Yes.
Like, my normal things. I can't do that.
Yeah, because you think about children, a lot of times, like when they go to the doctor or things, that causes a lot of anxiety. And so you need to keep in mind, you're not a physician, so you're not doing a thorough check like a doctor would, okay? So it should be just in a relaxed and comfortable manner, and you should be trained, like we said before. And just like what Sonia said before, I think it was Sonia, or it might have been Saritha, remember to maintain confidentiality of protected health information, including daily health checks at all times, okay? The obtaining of information from the parent or guardian, whoever the child lives with, should take place at the time of transfer of care, so the time the child gets to the center, from the parent guardian to the staff of the child care facility. If this exchange of information does happen outside the facility, like if you're on a field trip or something, the facility should use an alternative means to accurately convey important information, like through notes, through emails, health checks, and or daily logs, or examples of how parents and guardians and staff can exchange information when face-to-face is not possible. And always remember, okay, just like I just said this before, this is not a detailed exam of the children. Please leave that to a medical doctor or other healthcare provider. The intent is to watch for changes in individual children that might indicate illness or other health issues, signs of abuse. It is a brief assessment of whether each child is looking and acting normal for them before the parent leaves. It is a casual observation of the child as you welcome them. You are observing for signs of well-being, but not finding reasons to exclude children. And documentation. The caregiver or teacher should conduct and document this upon arrival, and it should be kept. This was recommendations from Caring for Children, but kept for at least 1 month. And I know this is a copy of you guys, the daily health check form that you have. And so just be trained on that and know how to fill that out. Again, if you've got questions about your daily health check forms or your procedures, please see your supervisor, okay? Okay, let's just skip through this video, Sonia. This is just going back through. This video was just kind of giving you, it's just showing you visually all the things that I just talked about, what a daily health check should be, okay? All right, we're going to go on to talking about oral health. And I've got a question here. Do you think it's necessary to promote good oral health care with infants and toddlers? Do you think that's necessary?
Yes, because they might not be getting it at home.
Mm-hmm. When you think about infants, I mean, infants, they haven't even really, a lot of them, they haven't started growing teeth yet, but why is it good to go ahead and start promoting good oral care even with infants?
Because oral problems can happen at really any age.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to,
yes,
and it's a good start to a routine also.
Right, yes, you're setting that foundation, aren't you? You're setting that foundation for good habits to stay with them for the rest of their lives. So absolutely. Great. All right, oral health. Okay, routine oral hygiene activities. Caregivers or teachers should promote the habit of regular toothbrushing. All children with teeth should brush or have their teeth brushed with a soft toothbrush of age-appropriate size. So therefore, you're not going to brush a toddler's teeth with the same kind of toothbrush that you would brush an adult's teeth, okay? And it should be at least once during the hours that they are in your care. Okay? Those children ages 3 and older, and we're going to see some pictures of this. We're going to talk about this a little bit later, should use a pea-sized amount of toothpaste. An ideal time to brush, of course, is after eating, because that's when they start to get all of the food and the plaque, all those things on their building up on their teeth. The caregiver teacher should either brush the child's teeth if they're too young, or supervise as they get older as the child brushes his or her own teeth. Disposable gloves, there again, gloves should be worn by the teacher if contact with the child's oral fluids is anticipated. So if you're over there and you're helping the child brush their teeth, you definitely need to wear gloves. And the younger the child, the more you need to be involved. You should teach the child the correct method of toothbrushing. Remember, you're setting the foundation. And a lot of times, I think it was Kaylee that said it, they don't get this at home, okay? And so that's where you guys' job are, and just to step in. Young children do want to brush their own teeth. They like to do that sometimes as they get older, but they need help until about age 7 or 8. So you should monitor the toothbrushing activity and thoroughly brush the child's teeth if they're really young after the child has finished brushing, preferably a total of 2 minutes. So you need to closely monitor this. If they are capable of being able to do it on their own, you still need to make sure that they're doing it properly and really watching them and supervising. And the cavity-causing effect of exposure to foods or drinks containing sugar, like juices, may be reduced by having children rinse with water. So they shouldn't even be eating or drinking all this kind of stuff in your care. But by having children rinse with water after snacks and meals when toothbrushing is not possible, okay? So if there's a time where toothbrushing is not possible, they can, rinse their mouth out with water after they eat. Regular toothbrushing with fluoride toothpaste is encouraged to reinforce oral health habits and prevent gingivitis and tooth decay. Before the first tooth erupts, okay, so this is for infants, wiping a baby's gums with clean gauze or a soft, wet washcloth as part of a daily routine may make the transition to toothbrushing easier. So you're there again, you're just setting that foundation, setting those habits. Good oral hygiene is as important for a 6-month-old child with one tooth as it is for a 6-year-old with many teeth. Toothbrushing with fluoride toothpaste at least once a day reduces the buildup of decay causing plaque. And the development of tooth decay producing plaque begins when an infant's first tooth appears. So it's not later on when children get a lot of teeth, okay? And it says, okay, all right. And so it's when that first tooth appears in his or her mouth, all right? So they can get plaque even built up on that first tooth. Tooth decay cannot develop without this plaque, which contains the acid-producing bacteria in a child's mouth. And the ability to do a good job brushing the teeth is a learned skill. They don't always know how to do that. You've got to teach them. Improved by practice and age. There is general consensus that children do not have the necessary hand-eye coordination for independent brushing really good until around age 7 or 8. That doesn't mean they can't start beginning to do it on their own. They just don't have the correct hand-eye coordination yet. So either the caregiver or teacher brushing or close supervision is necessary. And activities at home may not suffice, okay, to develop the skill or accomplish the necessary plaque removal, especially when children eat most of their meals and snacks during a full day in childcare. So that's why you guys are so important. And here's a picture of this. So you should use a small smear, and there's a little picture of it, like a grain of rice, okay, spread across the width of the toothbrush for children under 3 years of age. And then a little bit bigger amount, a pea-size amount for children ages 3 years of age and older. And then by the time they get to more than 5 years old, you just have a regular amount of toothpaste on the toothbrush. And they should attempt to spit out excess toothpaste after brushing. However, toothpaste is not always necessary for children to use, since food and plaque can be removed from the teeth with a dry brush or by using water only. And so keep in mind, though, young children may occasionally swallow a small amount of toothpaste, and this is not a health risk. However, though, if children swallow more than the recommended amounts of fluoride toothpaste on a consistent basis, they are at risk for a condition called fluorosis, which is a cosmetic condition, which that's a picture of some teeth right there of a child that has fluorosis, discoloration of the teeth. This is caused by overexposure to fluoride during the first 8 years of life. Okay. Other products such as fluoride rinses, so like mouthwash and things like that, can pose a poisoning hazard if ingested. So you should stay away from those with young children. The children can rinse with water after a snack or meal if their teeth have been brushed earlier. Rinsing with water helps to remove the food particles from teeth and may help prevent tooth decay. So if you have toothbrushing time after snack time, okay, then after lunch, they can just have a cup of water and just rinse their teeth. A sink is not necessary to accomplish this. Each child can use a cup of water for toothbrushing. The child should wet the brush in the cup, brush, and then spit excess toothpaste into the cup. And they should encourage replacement of toothbrushes when the bristles become worn or frayed. If they start to look like that, then they definitely need to be replaced, or approximately around every 3 to 4 months. You should encourage parents and guardians to establish a dental health plan at home for their child within 6 months after the first tooth erupts, or by 1 year of age, whichever is earlier. Okay, in facilities where toothbrushing is an activity, which that would be you guys, y'all do daily toothbrushing, don't you?
We haven't since we come back from COVID because we were instructed to not do that.
Okay. Sonia, I lost the PowerPoint. Yes, I can understand due to COVID. I know there's a lot of we're just in a different world right now. We got to keep in mind that a lot of these recommendations are for when we are in a completely normal world, if there is a such thing as normal. But I know with COVID and all, procedures and all are a little bit different right now. So Okay, no sharing or borrowing of course, of toothbrushes. Labels ensure that staff can tell which toothbrush belongs to each child. No sharing or borrowing. After use, toothbrushes should be stored on a clean surface with the bristle end of the toothbrush up to air dry in such a way that the toothbrushes cannot contact or drip on each other, and the bristles are not in contact with any surface, so they don't contaminate each other. Racks and devices used to hold toothbrushes for storage should be labeled and disinfected as needed. The toothbrushes should be replaced, of course, at least every 3 to 4 months or sooner if they become frayed. And when they do become contaminated through contact with another brush or accidentally grabbed and used by another child, it should be discarded and replaced, of course, with a new one. As an alternative to racks, children can have individualized labeled cups, and their brush can be stored bristle side up in the cup. And they should have their own labeled toothpaste tube, or if toothpaste from a single tube is shared among the children, so if you do share the toothpaste, it should be dispensed onto a clean piece of paper or paper cup for each child rather than directly on the toothbrush. And when they require assistance, teachers should wash their hands thoroughly between brushings for each child. They should wear gloves when assisting such children with brushing their teeth. And toddlers should be allowed to handle small dabs of toothpaste by themselves there again, but you should just closely monitor that because we do want to teach them some self-help skills. They should brush their teeth at least once daily during your care. And the toothpaste, of course, should be stored out of children's reach. And this is an oral health policy. This was adapted from the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry. So these are just some good policies and good guidelines to go by. Information, the program should have an oral health policy that includes the following: information about fluoride content of water at the facility, contact information for each child's dentist, resource list for children that do not have a dentist, so you can help provide information for parents if a child doesn't have a dentist, somebody you can recommend them for. Implementation of daily toothbrushing or rinsing the mouth with water after eating. Use of sippy cups and bottles only at meal times during the day and not at nap times. Prohibition of serving sweetened food products, which, like I said, a lot of these are things I know you guys are probably already implementing. Promotion of healthy foods per the USDA's Child and Adult Care Food Program. Early identification of tooth decay. Age-appropriate oral health educational activities, and a plan for handling dental emergencies. So what are you going to do in case a child has an accident and maybe they knock their tooth out or something? And all children with teeth should have oral hygiene education as part of their daily activity. Children 3 years of age and older should do something, have developmentally appropriate oral health education that includes information on what plaque is in the process of dental decay. There's a picture of some teeth right there with plaque buildup, and it's causing gingivitis, which is inflamed and receding gums. Diet influences on teeth, including the contribution of sugar-sweetened beverages and foods to cavity development, and the importance of good oral hygiene behaviors. Okay, and I'm wondering, I don't think, let's see, it's 12:30. I think we'll skip through this video too. This was a cute little dental health experiment a dentist had. That all you do is you take a hard-boiled egg. I can tell you guys what you can do. This might be a cute little activity you can especially do like with your toddlers. You take a hard-boiled egg, and that represents a healthy tooth because the hard shell on the outside of the egg kind of represents the dentin, like your teeth are made out of, because it's hard. And you dip it in a cup of soda, and you let it sit for about 24 to 48 hours. And then you talk about how sugary sweetened beverages and sugary sweetened foods can cause the breakdown of the tooth. And so then after about 2 days, you take the egg out of the soda and it'll be all discolored, and even part of the shell of the egg is starting to erode away. And so that's a great experiment. That's a great way to show kids how sugary things and how tooth decay, how those things affect a tooth. Okay, so that's what that video was talking about. All right, so we're moving on to, I think this is the last section. So I'm going to go through this really quickly because I know everybody's hungry, ready to go eat. So what does hand hygiene mean? And I know Sonia has touched on a little bit of this, but what does hand hygiene mean?
To make
Elizabeth, I can't. Somebody say something. I heard somebody say something.
All right, say it again, Elizabeth.
to make sure your hands are always clean, even after meals and diaper changes and potty changes.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Is hand hygiene important? We just all
Yes.
nod our heads. Yes, we could do the sign language for yes. Definitely yes. Okay. So yes, hand hygiene is important, and we're going to talk about why that's important. Hand hygiene is a way of cleaning one's hands that substantially reduces potential pathogens, harmful microorganisms on the hands. Hand washing, also known as hand hygiene, is the act of cleaning one's hands with soap and water to remove viruses, bacteria, germs, microorganisms, dirt, grease, or other harmful and unwanted substances stuck to the hands, because the hands are nasty, nasty, nasty. We touch so many things throughout the day. Hand hygiene is the most important way to reduce the spread of infection. Many studies have shown that improperly cleansed hands are the primary carriers of infections. That's why it's been so important during this pandemic. They've told us over, I know we've heard it 1,000,000 times, wash your hands, wash your hands. And deficiencies in hand hygiene have contributed to many outbreaks of diarrhea among children and caregivers and teachers in child care centers. Child care centers that have implemented good hand hygiene or hand washing techniques have consistently demonstrated a reduction in diseases transmitted. When frequent and proper hand hygiene practices are incorporated into a child care center's curriculum or just into your everyday routine, there is a decrease in the incidence of acute respiratory illnesses. Okay. Hand hygiene after exposure, of course, to soil and sand will reduce opportunities for the ingestion of parasites that could be present in contaminated sand and soil. Thorough hand washing with soap for at least 20 seconds, okay? Using clean running water at a comfortable temperature. It's just a warm temperature, okay? It's not hot because you don't want to scald a child. Removes organisms from the skin and allows them to be rinsed away. Hand hygiene, of course, with a non-alcohol-based sanitizer is an alternative to traditional hand washing with soap and water when visible soiling is not present. This should be used only, and I've got this in pink, as an exception when soap and water are not readily available. Hand sanitizer products, though, may be dangerous or toxic if ingested in amounts greater than the residue left on hands after cleaning. It is important for caregivers or teachers to monitor children's use of these to ensure the product is being used appropriately. Always keep it away from children's reach. Always provide adult supervision, okay? And then, of course, see your center's policy on the use of non-alcohol sanitizer. Always, in any of these procedures, please see your supervisor and know your policy, okay? Infectious organisms that may be spread in a variety of ways, of course, in human waste, in bodily fluids, open injuries, cuts or skin sores, direct skin-to-skin contact by touching an object that has live organisms on it, in droplets of bodily fluids, such as those produced by sneezing and coughing that travel through the air. So those are just ways that the infectious organisms can be spread. Since many infected people carry infectious organisms without even symptoms, they're asymptomatic, and many are contagious before they experience a symptom, caregivers or teachers' routine hand hygiene is the safest practice. So you should be doing just like what that gentleman's doing right there. You should be the good role model. You should be washing your hands. In situations that require hand hygiene, all staff, volunteers, and children should follow the procedures for hand hygiene at the following times. So this is when you should be washing hands: upon arrival, after breaks, or when moving from one child care group to another, before and after, of course, preparing food or beverages, eating, handling food, or feeding a child. And I know you guys, y'all already know this, and I'm sure you're already doing this, but it's always good to be reminded. Brushing or helping a child brush their teeth, giving medication or applying a medical ointment or cream in which a break in the skin may be encountered. Playing in water that is used by more than one person, just playing in water, period. Diapering. And then, of course, after using the toilet or helping a child uses a toilet, handling bodily fluids, sneezing, wiping and blowing noses from mouths or from sores, handling animals or cleaning up animal waste, of course, playing in sand, on wooden play sets, outdoors, anytime they go outside, cleaning or handling the garbage. So these are times, all after these times, you should be washing your hands. In situations or times that children and staff should perform hand hygiene, should be posted in all food preparation, hand hygiene, diapering, and toileting areas. Okay, and so these are this is hand washing procedures. Children and staff should wash their hands using the following method, okay? Check to be sure a clean disposable paper or single-use cloth towel is available. Turn on the water, and the lady already in the ITERS video showed this. Turn on clean running water to a comfortable temperature. Moisten hands with water and apply soap to your hands. Rub your hands together vigorously, okay, until a soapy lather appears. Hands are out of the water stream, okay, and continue for at least 20 seconds. You can sing the happy birthday song. You can be creative with this. Rub areas, this is important. Then just rub areas in between the fingers, okay, around the nails, under the fingernails. Of course, you shouldn't really be wearing a lot of jewelry, and then the backs of hands, and nails should be kept short, okay? Running clean water over the hands removes, of course, visible soil. Wetting the hands before applying soap helps to create a lather. That's why you wet the hands before, because that helps to create a really good lather on those hands. And the soap lather loosens soil, okay? And brings it into a solution on the surface of the skin that can be rinsed away. Rinsing the lather off into a sink removes the soil from the hands, okay? And pre-moistened cleansing towelettes do not effectively clean hands and should not be used as a substitute for washing hands with soap and running water.
Hey, Stacey, are we right at the end?
I don't think we have too many more. I don't know. I can't tell like what number we're on.
We're really running out of time. We've got
Yeah.
another one scheduled, so let me run through this. Go ahead. You just
All
want
right, so rinse hands under the clean running water that's at a comfortable temperature until they're free of soap and dirt. Leave the water running while drying hands. Dry hands with a clean disposable paper or single-use cloth towel. And if taps do not shut off automatically, turn taps off with a disposable paper or single-use cloth towel. And be like this little kid here. Yes, threw all the paper towels away. Throw the disposable paper towel into a lined trash container. And if you need to open a door to leave a bathroom or diaper changing area, you should open the door with a disposable towel to avoid possibly recontaminating clean hands. If a child cannot open the door or turn off the faucet, they should be assisted by an adult. Okay, and so you should just provide assistance with hand washing at a sink for infants who can be safely cradled in one arm, and for children who can stand but not wash their hands independently. So like what that picture is right there. Okay, and a child who can stand should either use a child height sink or stand on a safety step at a height at which the child's hands can hang freely under the running water. And after assisting the child with hand washing, the staff members should wash his or her own hands. Okay. All right, and then encouraging and teaching children good hand hygiene practices must be done in a safe manner. A how-to poster that is developmentally appropriate should be placed wherever children wash their hands. Okay, and they should blow or wipe their noses with disposable single-use tissues and then discard them in a plastic line-covered hands-free trash container. Okay, and then of course, after blowing the nose, practice hand hygiene. Okay, all right, we can go ahead and skip through this stuff, Sonia. Okay. All right, and it just talks about how important training and monitoring is, and training just like what you guys are in right now. And children are encouraged to do as much as they can on their own. Some self-help skills, teaching toddlers self-care, use books with the children on topics such as brushing and combing their hair, toothbrushing, appropriate clothing, toilet training, familiar personal care routine sequences such as bathing, going to bed, eating, hand washing, toothbrushing, and use play materials and activities that include nutritious play foods in the dramatic play area, bathing baby dolls or washing dolls in soapy water, simple puzzles and picture matching games, helpful personal care routines, or healthful foods. Okay, and staff can guide children to complete health-related tasks, follow up to be sure the tasks are completed, and provide help as needed. Okay, and then it just talks about a little song there that you can sing for hand washing, like row, row, row your boat. Okay, remind them to make bubbles. Okay, those kinds of little fun little things. Okay, and there's a song there sung to the tune of row, row, row your boat. Wash, wash, wash your hands. Play your handy game. Rub and scrub and scrub and rub. Germs go down the drain. Okay, that's just a cute little example there. Okay, display posters or pictures where children can see them. A hand washing poster next to the sink that shows pictures of the steps. And there again, it just there's a picture of a poster there on how to wash your hands. Okay, we can click on through that, Sonia. I know we're out of time. And just be a good role model, okay? You should wash your hands always because those children are watching you, okay? And that concludes my portion of the training. That's just another little video there